Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. Trust me, I say that devastated as the next Celtic fan. But sadly, this is it. Martin O'Neill will take charge of his final game as Celtic manager in any capacity tomorrow night. His interim spell in charge of the club will come to an end, and he's confirmed that at today's press conference. A huge game against Dundee, where Celtic will continue the pursuit towards the top of the table. And a few weeks ago, before Martin O'Neill came back as temporary boss of the club, that would have been hard to believe. He's done magnificently. Simple as that. And we'll send him off with a bang tomorrow night. Let's talk about that. If you haven't already, please make sure to hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We are on the way to 55,000 subscribers on the channel. So if you could go down below, spare a moment, hit those buttons. It's absolutely free. We're going to do a brief match preview today for the game tomorrow night against Dundee at Celtic Park. And we're obviously going to talk about the circumstances which will follow the game against Dundee tomorrow night at Celtic Park. Martin O'Neill is about to exit the club, meaning Wilfred Nancy is about to enter the club. It's a huge week for Celtic, but I want to talk about Martin more than I'll talk about Wilfred today, because it's the least he deserves. And honestly, I am kind of gutted we're sitting here talking about this. So here is the league table heading into tomorrow night's midweek fixtures. After a big weekend in the Scottish Premiership, Celtic have closed the gap at the top of the table to 2 points. Hearts slipped up, Celtic continue their great domestic form, and suddenly there's a very real situation or scenario tomorrow night where Celtic could mathematically be top of the league. Should Hearts fail to win and Celtic beat Dundee, well, we could be back on top by the time Martin O'Neill hangs up the trackie, I suppose. So it's been a huge few weeks in Scottish football, and before Wilfred Nancy even comes in, there is a prospect of us being top of the league again. So great stuff. He's of course coming into a situation where he has Hearts at the weekend, and if we fail to go top tomorrow, we could go top on Sunday. So yeah, huge implications all round in the Premiership right now. The pressure is on Hearts, and Celtic are riding a great wave of momentum. But aye, if you told us that a few weeks ago, it would have probably been hard to believe for some people, and we really have one man to thank for that. I am devastated to be sitting here now that it's finally happening, now that the day has come where I'm doing my last preview for a Martin O'Neill-led Celtic side. I always knew this would be short-lived, and I think me more than many has accepted what has to happen at the club in terms of development and moving forward and acting like a big club. I was always one of the advocates for making sure this process was done quickly and that Celtic went through their due diligence to appoint the next permanent manager. So I never really wanted to get too emotionally attached, but you can't help but get emotionally attached with Martin O'Neill. He is a great guy, a great manager, and a great person to have around the football club. And the job that he's done makes it even harder to say farewell. So he deserves every last bit of respect and appreciation for the job he's done at Celtic over these last few weeks since taking over an interim charge or interim in an interim basis. And it hurts to see him go. I mean, I wasn't old enough to remember Martin O'Neill's first spell in charge. I was 5 years old when he left the club for the first time, and I'm so glad and so grateful that I had the experience, albeit for a short period of time, to watch a Martin O'Neill-led Celtic side and to get that feeling with him in charge of the club, because he's a one-of-a-kind man. And we said this on the live stream last night, behind the great Jock Stein, especially post-war, you're looking at, you know, the second best manager to probably manage the club behind Jock. So, you know, it's been a roller coaster of a few weeks, and we didn't know how it would turn out. But if you told me it would turn out this well when the decision was made to bring him back, I mean, I would have been buzzing. So here we are, and it sadly comes to an end. Some people might be holding on for the fairy tale that we have a little bit longer with Martin, but sadly, that is not the case. It's bittersweet. You know, we need to say cheerio, but we get to usher in this new exciting era of Celtic Football Club. Martin O'Neill confirmed at his press conference this afternoon that it will be farewell tomorrow night. So usually I would sit here and I would read the quotes from the press conference verbatim, but to give the man his own platform here on the channel, I'll let you listen to it firsthand, because there's no better way than to hear it from Martin himself. So here is what Martin O'Neill had to say at the press conference this afternoon, confirming that tomorrow night will be his last game in charge of Celtic.
Can I interrupt?
Okay. Do you want to share a statement?
Yes. And you will be relieved to know that this is definitely it for tomorrow evening. So, yeah, I've been assured of it by the board. So, yeah, the new man will come in. I'm not sure in terms of the process, but I know that this is definitely my last game. I see that look in your face as being delighted, So, great.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that was the remit coming in to do it. Whether it was going to last 2 weeks or 5 or 6 weeks, that was always going to be the case. So yeah, I have put no complaints at all.
There's clarity as well then this time. If it seems that you're sure of it, you get that, you know what you're walking into, you know this is where it lands.
I think that's absolutely great. Yeah, so it's not a continuation. Young gentleman's coming in, and it's over to him. But obviously we've got the big game here tomorrow evening, and I obviously like to try and win it if we can. It won't be easy. Dundee did us a few weeks ago, so we've got a bit of a job in our hands.
I know you've been keen to not make it about you, but I do think the fans will enjoy the opportunity to say goodbye at home. Is that something you think you will enjoy when it comes round to it?
Well, it is. Listen, it's not this idea that you push everything to the side and say it's not about you. Every manager, everybody has an ego of some description, no? So, and mine is probably bigger than most, but so. It's about trying to win the game really, and whatever comes or goes after that. I just think, and the nice thing about the players is that they have responded, and they've shown a willingness to try and implement some of the things that I think are important about the game. That's really it, and some have maybe even been reluctant to do it. I don't know, but no, I'm joking. They've been great, obviously, and I couldn't praise them highly enough. But we've got one more game to go. For me, they've got big matches ahead, so those games are really important to them. But no, the response has been terrific.
So there you go, straight from the horse's mouth, without revealing too much about the details that will follow after tomorrow night. Martin O'Neill has confirmed that it is his last game in the dugout. And yeah, I don't know what else there is to say that I haven't already said over these last few weeks. When I thought Martin O'Neill would maybe be gone following the international break, I gave my appreciation. I gave every bit of credit that I could possibly give, but I can't help but reinforce that. And I suppose the last thing there is to say is thank you. One huge thank you to Martin O'Neill for coming in and doing the job that he's done under really difficult circumstances, with a lot of toxicity and negativity between the Celtic board and the fans, for inheriting a squad that was quite simply not up to standard, for coming in the middle of the worst situation Celtic have been in at least the last 3-4 years. I mean, thank you for steadying that ship for us. I don't know if any other man could have done it, and I'm sure Wilfred Nancy will be incredibly grateful that he gets to inherit a slightly better situation than what he could have when Martin first came in. So, thank you to Martin O'Neill, and I'm sure we'll probably say that one more time in my match reaction tomorrow night. Just to recap the games that Martin O'Neill has led over since coming back on an interim basis, the record has been fantastic, bar that slip up in Denmark against Midtjylland. Huge wins over Rangers in the semi-final of the League Cup. Huge win against Feyenoord, of course, in the Europa League, giving us a little bit of hope for that competition. And then, most recently, the win at Easter Road. If he wins tomorrow night against Dundee at Celtic Park, it will be a perfect domestic record. He will have won every single game he took charge of in Scotland, and that is fantastic. Simply brilliant. I mean, some people might have questioned Martin O'Neill coming back into modern football at the age that he is and everything, but he's truly a man who knows the game, and if you were smart enough, you'd have probably never doubted that. So Martin O'Neill, big applause needed. Great record. Let's finish off with a win tomorrow night. I suppose the last big question that has to be asked as we approach Martin O'Neill's departure from the club is about timing. Is the timing right with all of this? Because now Wilfred Nancy, who by all accounts is set to become Celtic manager, has to be thrown into a baptism of fire. We've spoke about this to death on the channel, and there was really no ideal time for Wilfred to start. I think that it was always going to be tough no matter what, but Hearts at the weekend, Roma midweek, and then a League Cup final. It's a very defining 3 games, it feels like, for Wilfred Nancy. Realistically, you've got a game where you could go top of the table. You've got a game in Europe against the most difficult side we were drawn against. And then the chance to win your first trophy in your 3rd game. It's a huge 3 games. And a lot of people are obviously very nervous about that. People saying that maybe we should have let Martin take charge to the final and then Wilfred could get going. But ultimately, I'm not going to change my tune. I've stayed consistent with this. I think the more time he's afforded in the job is vital. I think he needs time to assess, evaluate, understand what he needs heading into the January window. And these players need to get to grips with what he wants to do. And Martin O'Neill has no animosity towards the situation, so neither should any of us as supporters. He was brought in to do an interim job for as long as it was required, and he's done that, and he's done it very well. So he has no complaints, we should have no complaints. It's time to get behind the new manager, and that can start from Thursday morning onwards, and we should all be very excited about it. I know I am. I get it, some people are nervous, rightfully so. It's a step into the unknown. But as long as we give him the support, we can succeed here. And Martin O'Neill's certainly left him in a good position to succeed almost instantly. So let's hope that's the case. So in regards to other news from today's press conference, there wasn't much in terms of injuries and fitness. The squad is essentially looking the same as it was at the weekend. No injuries, bar the long-term ones we all know about. Alistair Johnson, Cameron Carter-Vickers, Jota, etc. The squad should be fine. And we'll probably see a very consistent team that lines up with the last couple of matchday selections. So, yeah, I'm not expecting big changes. And hopefully everybody's touchwood fine going into tomorrow night. So on that note, here is my starting 11 prediction, and bar the game on Sunday against Hearts where we have no idea what Wilfred Nancy will do for his first game, I think this is one of the most difficult, if not the most difficult match starting 11 prediction of the season. Just because it's his last game, and he'll want to go out with a bang by playing his best players, but he'll also probably want to make a couple of changes for the sake of Nancy inheriting a fit and firing squad for a huge game against Hearts at the weekend. So there's a balance there that I think Martin O'Neill and the coaching staff will try to find. On that note, I don't expect many changes. You'll notice in the back 4 I have Ralston starting. The only reason I don't have Donovan is because he went off at half-time in the weekend. Maybe they'll give him the rest that he clearly needs. Picked up a slight knock apparently in that first half at Easter Road as well, so maybe they'll use precaution there when choosing the back 4. I've gone with Sriracha again as well, even though Tierney didn't start at the weekend, which might mean he starts tomorrow night. I think it's once again just hard to predict, especially with Nancy coming in on Sunday. So I've just gone for Sriracha. Apart from that, I've kept the same midfield 3 because I think Martin O'Neill's found a real good balance there, and he's found something that works, and I think he'll want to roll with that in his last game. And in the front 3, the only change I've made is Luke McCowan being dropped for Johnny Kenny. It would be, I think, kind of fitting for Kenny to play in O'Neill's last game because he kind of gave him that career. You can't use the word resurgence because he never had an initial surgence as Celtic, but he kind of helped him stand out a little bit, and don't get me wrong, he's fell off the boil recently, hasn't been involved in the team as much, but I can just see him maybe bringing him back in, and especially because McCowan didn't do much at the weekend at Easter Road. In fact, I thought we struggled down that right hand side in the second half when McCowan was out there, so I think he might drop him and bring Kenny in, put Yang back out right, put Maid out left, and see how that goes. So that's my predicted 11. Once again, I think it's very, very hard to predict because it's his last game in charge and whatnot. But hopefully it's a team that will go out with a bang, get some goals. Stephen Presley, keep your dreaming to yourself, son. Don't be dreaming up any nonsense scenarios that makes you repeat what happened at Dens Park. Just you know, sleep at peace. Thanks very much. Right, that does it then for today. If you've enjoyed, please make sure to go down below, hit like and subscribe. It would be much appreciated. We'll be back on the channel tomorrow. And of course, we're waiting for that official statement to drop about Wilfred Nancy becoming the next Celtic manager. So keep your notifications on and we'll be live as soon as that happens. So until then, take care of yourself. God bless, and I'll see you all next time.